Hello all, and my name is Savage-san, and in this video I will be talking about The Elder Scrolls Online, the MMORPG that was released back on April 4th, 2014. Now I'm aware that I'm late to the party on all this, but in the last few days I bought the game, half off on Steam, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on what I've experienced. Now when this game came out, I remember some of the problems such as crashes and a few greedy business practices. ESO had a subscription model on top of a AAA price of $60, which isn't a bad thing. Now there is no subscription, which I'm glad for, but that doesn't make up for the issues that still persist years after the game's launch and DLC still coming out. When I first bought this game, I was blown away by what I was seeing, not at the stunning top-notch quality of what I was seeing, but at how much it felt exactly like Dungeons & Dragons, the game that, like ESO, was on Steam, but where D&D Online did something better is that it's free to play. My first complaint with the game is that although there are lots of things to do, and the game lets you know because every side quest is highlighted on your little map bar at the top of the screen, just like in Skyrim how buildings and waypoints were. Now this is a great way to know where to go for a quest, but it becomes annoying and distracting from whatever quest you're currently doing at the time, unless it exists and I'm a retard, which is likely, let's be fair. There should be a setting to toggle this on and off because I don't need to know where every side quest is. My second in-game complaint is how open the game is. Now, let me explain, because I know how jarring that sounds to hear that an open-world RPG is too open. It's so open it feels barren and unorganized on top of that. Now I understand why the developers did this. Of course, you can't have a lot of players stuffed shoulder to shoulder next to one another. But Elder Scrolls Online is needlessly big with its city spaces and dungeons. Wandering around ESO's Tamriel feels like a chore, among with constantly fighting enemies at every given turn that give little reward. I mean, you can only fight so many aggressive Kawamas. I think that's how they're pronounced. I'll put up a picture. Kawama workers before you just get sick of it. Bugs. This game's got a few of them. For example, when you go to talk to an NPC, sometimes you'll get locked into a never-ending loop of dialogue and not make any progress. I found this has happened the most when going to the in-game bank in one of the cities, and when you click on the bank dialogue box, you get stuck in a loop, and the only way to break this chain is to completely restart the game. I don't know how long this issue has been with the game, but for a game that's been out for a few years, it seems like an issue that could be fixed with a simple patch. Speaking of said bank, it's always crowded with players. One thing ESO does well is that when you go to see the quest, the quest giver, the prophet, it's only you, not 15 people standing in one another like some kind of fucking horror monster in front of the same NPC. I wish that carried over to the bank and other places like it that are so enclosed. Anyways, here's some footage of the dialogue loop.
Would you care to make a deposit? This is House Lal. We operate. You can buy additional storage space. We operate. You can buy. We operate. You can buy. We operate. You can buy.
But wait, as Billy Mays once said, there's more, such as goddamn shadow people. And during a quest I saw this gem. Wasn't that just a gift? But besides glitches, I found this instant of just lazy game design. Now I'm sure if I really combed this game even more, I'd find more things like this, but there are more things to talk about. We've only a while to dream. With games like ESO comes microtransactions. Then again, it seems like every game nowadays has this cancerous business practice stitched into it like some kind of Siamese twin. But ESO does something amazing in that fast traveling costs you your in-game gold. Observe. So is there some kind of greedy goblin ferryman or some shit that just wanna fuck you in the ass and take your gold if you want to get anywhere? This is fucking stupid and drain on your gold. But worst of all, this is still a thing. Really? You could get rid of your monthly costs, but you still have a race behind a paywall. Remember in Skyrim when you had to buy the orc race before the game came out? Or when in Oblivion you had to pay $49.9 to unlock the iron armor? This move was beyond fucking greedy on day one and unnecessary, and still is. Maybe, just maybe, if it was something that we haven't gotten before, like a new race to play as, like the snow elves or the dwarves, I would be a little bit more forgiving. Probably not. Honestly, fuck these kind of practices. Now, I only have a couple of nitpicks here. The crafting system, for starters, because what game doesn't have a crafting system? How come if you want to make a certain set of gear, first you gotta go out and mine the iron ore from the world, of course. Just like any survival crafting thing. But then you have to buy a certain piece of material to influence the way the iron armor looks, if that makes sense, to make it look like your desirable set. This is kind of fucking stupid. Remember in Skyrim when you could just travel the world and there'd be all sorts of different ores scattered throughout the land? I remember that. It gave variety to mining and made each place feel kind of unique. Instead, there's just random specks of iron ore all over the land. Anyway. Oh, so what's up with the battlefield of Ghost right next to a city? They should be somewhere more fitting, like a graveyard, an old crypt, somewhere, kind of spooky. It just feels out of place to me. Also, 10,000 for gold for a horse. Fuck off, cunt. Now it's time to tell the things that Elder Scrolls Online does well. The combat in the game is fluid and just as fun as it was in previous game. Like Skyrim. As far as melee goes, of course. I haven't played around with ranged weapons myself, but with my experience with NPCs using them against me is something. Firebolts and arrows and other magic curves to you to hit you like a heat-seeking missile. But what makes it truly shit is when it goes through a rock or a tree or other structures. There's no way to really get away from a ranged attack except maybe dodging it. Maybe. But the way the arrows and firebolts go through shit makes the game feel hollow and takes me out of the game. Now, when I first played this game, I thought it looked like the D&D I compared it to earlier. But when I turned up the settings to high, it looked nice and had a style that's pleasing to the eye for the most part. Close your eyes, the music is soft and low. So what are my thoughts on Elder Scrolls Online? Well, ESO is a good idea and for the most part is pulled off. Okay, well, I'd say almost. There are bugs and issues. The shite way you can't use the Imperial race, it still gets to me. The game feels a bit hollow. I don't really care about any of the quests that I'm given because for some reason they just feel generic and Almost rushed. But it's fun to turn your brain off and just run around the world of Tamriel and quest and kill monsters. I recommend you buy this if it's 50% off and you have some friends to play with. You won't have a terrible time. Thank you for watching. And remember to like, share, subscribe, and all that other generic garbage that YouTubers say. I've been Savage Son, and thank you for listening.